Discover the incredible life-changing stories every family must experience before 2025. Heartwarming. Jane stood by the window, rain pounding against the glass like 1,000 desperate hearts. Thunder rolled overhead, as if echoing the turmoil inside her. She felt every drop seep through her skin, a reminder of the weariness binding her to this small Midwestern town. As wind howled through the worn-down buildings, Jane's thoughts drifted to her 2 kids, tucked into bed, their innocent dreams untouched by the pain that marked their family's past. The shadow of her father loomed large over her heart, a specter of abandonment that tightened her chest in the darkest moments. With her heavy heart, she thought about the choices she made and the sacrifices she faced daily, cleaning offices by day and waiting tables at the local diner by night. She did it all for her children, ages 8 and 12, unaware that in reflecting their mother's grit, they were also sheltering a flame of hope. Keep your chin up, she told herself, but how long could she keep it up? The fear of failure gnawed at her, an unholy alliance with the storm raging outside. Suddenly, a violent gust slammed a tree into the ground. The crack echoed through the night, sending shivers down her spine. As neighbors rushed out to help each other, Jane remembered how the community felt in moments like these, a warm embrace against the cold realities of life. But whispers of classism and judgments lingered just beneath the surface, long-standing resentments that often overshadowed their efforts to come together. And just like that, her heart faced another tempest. Her estranged father showed up on her doorstep, windswept and wearied, a veteran bearing scars that never seemed to heal. Everything she thought she had neatly tied up in a box came spilling out at the sight of him. Pain and love, a complicated mix, collided like the storm beyond her walls. The yearning for a father danced with the pain of his absence. She could almost hear the echoes of their strained conversations from years ago. Before memories could crash against her like the thunder, an idea struck her. The community center where kids played and friends laughed was at risk of closing down. This is it, Jane thought with a gasp. Determined, she found the courage to bring the townspeople together for a fundraiser, an effort that pulled on the strings of their collective heart. They couldn't just let their haven disappear. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night of the fundraiser dawned, the air thick with anticipation and electric energy. Town folks gathered, drawn by the flickering promise of connection. Yet underneath that buzz was a palpable tension. The past, the divides, and Jane's resurrected relationship with her father simmered just below the surface. Could she get them to look beyond their differences? Could she forgive him for leaving? Just as she prepared to speak, uncertainty clung to her throat. Would those around her see the humanity in each other? Or would the walls they built remain firmly fixed? Jane stood before the crowd, her father's gaze searching hers, hope tangled with fear. Would she be able to unite the town, or would the storm within become too fierce to contain? As Jane took a deep breath, all eyes seemed to lean toward her, waiting for her to make sense of everything swirling in the air like the thick summer humidity before a storm. She tightened her grip on the microphone, feeling its weight, much like the burden that rested on her shoulders each day. Thank you all for being here tonight, she began, her voice a bit shaky but building strength with each word. We're here because our community center is more than just a building. It's where our kids laugh, where neighbors share stories, where friendships spark. We can't let it fade away. The murmurs of agreement surged through the crowd like soft thunder, but Jane could see some faces familiar but hardened by indifference. Lonnie, the owner of the hardware store, stood with crossed arms. There were the Thompsons, always critical, their whispers like needles that pricked her confidence. She continued, I know we've had our differences. I can't pretend those don't exist. But tonight, let us remember why we came together. Life has thrown challenges at us, But we always come out on top because of this very community. She glanced at her father, who stood at the back, looking as though he was trying to dissolve into the shadows. Yet, something unspoken between them shimmered, a shared understanding that maybe, just maybe, they were both trying to build a bridge back after years of wreckage. As she spoke, Jane felt her nerves melting into passion. We all have stories to share, stories filled with struggle, love, and hope. And these stories connect us more than any disagreements ever could. I'm sure you've seen how these walls have held laughter, grief, and recovery. Let us give that a chance to continue. The community members shifted in their seats, as if reconsidering the bricks they had placed between them. Jane pushed through. We can make this place a haven once again. Let us share our talents. Some can bake, others can entertain. We all have something to give. Together, we can create an event that doesn't just raise funds, but also rekindles friendships. The energy in the room transformed. She saw nods, smiles, and the lighting of determination in many eyes. Even Lonnie uncrossed his arms slightly. She took that as a win. Just as she felt a powerful alignment in the crowd, a voice cut through the murmurings. What if we don't have enough money? A woman with a weary expression spoke from the back, the doubt clear in her gaze. The room quieted, the weight of her words hanging like an unspoken concern. We won't know unless we try. Jane replied quickly, her heart racing. It's about more than money. It's about us believing we are worth fighting for. Our kids deserve a place to grow, laugh, and learn together. A place their dreams can take flight. Look around. We've helped each other through tough times before. Let us do it again. The crowd began to react, some clapping, some whispering. Jane felt a spark igniting, but the nagging thread of uncertainty remained. Would they truly come together, or would doubt snuff out their resolve? As she turned to her father, searching for a sign of support, she saw him nodding almost imperceptibly. Their eyes locked, a moment suspended in time, a shared wish for healing. But just then, the front doors burst open, and a rush of wind welcomed someone unexpected, a face Jane hadn't seen in years. The crowd gasped, the energy undulating dangerously. What now? Jane's heart raced as she braced for the impact of another storm. Would this person bring them all together or tear them further apart? The figure stepping into the community center was tall and slightly hunched, a shadow from Jane's past brought to life by the dim light. It took her a moment to recognize him, but when she did, a flood of emotions gripped her heart. It was Eric, her childhood friend who had moved away years ago. The space buzzed with whispers, catching in Jane's throat like gravel. "Eric?" she asked, her voice nearly a whisper as disbelief draped over her like a heavy quilt. He looked different, older, marked by time and experience. But those familiar blue eyes still sparkled with the same mischief she remembered. Somewhere deep inside, she felt the ghost of their laughter echoing. But it felt distant now, like a song that was once a favorite but had long fallen silent. "Jane," he said, his voice warm yet hesitant. "I heard about the meeting. I thought, well, maybe I could help." Help? A fresh wave of hope crashed over her, but it was quickly dampened by the reality of her fears. "You're back for this? Just like that?" "Yes," he replied, taking a step closer. "I don't expect things to be easy, or to pick up where we left off. I just know your community needs you, and I wanted to be here." The crowd murmured, their tension thick, as if they were all holding their breaths, waiting for something to unfold. Jane felt a mix of relief and wariness. Could he really mean it? "Do you remember the summer fair we organized when we were kids?" His voice broke through her thoughts. "We put on games and you made the best lemonade. The whole neighborhood showed up." A few chuckles emerged from the audience, the ice starting to crack. He had a way of reminding them of better times. "That was a mess," Jane said, her smile slipping slowly into nostalgia. "But it was our mess. We made it work, right?" "Exactly," Eric replied, a smile creeping onto his face. "And I believe we can create that magic again. I have some ideas about a fundraiser, a fun run through the park, something that will involve families and get everyone outside again." Jane felt the energy beginning to shift in the room, faces lifting, hope flickering. But she had to ask the question that weighed on her heart. What if it fails, Eric? What if we don't have enough to make it work? He faced her. Serious now, what if it doesn't? What if we come together, even if just for a day, to share stories? If this community is anything like the one I remember, it's filled with resilient people. You know that, Jane? His words struck a chord in her spirit, igniting a small flame of determination. If they could get past their differences, maybe they could indeed build something beautiful again. As more people began to engage, nodding and talking ideas through, Jane felt her heart swell. It was time to turn the tide, to challenge the doubts, and to fight for their haven. But just when the energy had lifted high enough for her to believe it might be possible, the door swung open again. This time, another unexpected guest stepped in, an air of authority about them. Jane's heart dropped. Who else could come to disrupt this fragile moment? With a growing sense of dread, she wondered, would this new arrival be a source of hope or yet another storm cloud looming above? The air thickened with anticipation, and Jane's pulse quickened. Would they dare to face the challenges ahead? Or would fear keep them anchored in silence once more? The room fell silent as the newcomer stepped inside, eyes scanning the faces before settling on Jane. It was the mayor, an imposing figure well known for his stern demeanor and occasional town hall speeches that felt more like lectures than conversations. Today, his presence felt like cold steel pressing against the warmth of the moment Eric had sparked. Good to see the community coming together like this, he said, but his tone lacked warmth. I hope you're discussing sensible plans that won't drum up unnecessary attention. You know how the town can get. Jane's stomach twisted. Sensible? Wasn't that the same old rhetoric that had stifled their spirit for too long? She felt Eric shift slightly, a barrier of support beside her. Actually, Mayor, Eric interjected, his voice steady, we were brainstorming ideas for a fun run. It could be a great way to reconnect and raise funds for our local programs. A skeptical brow arched on the mayor's face. And who's going to lead that? You left, Eric. What makes you think it's time to come back and flip the script? Because I believe in this community, Eric replied firmly. Just as I did when we were kids. Jane, and everyone else here, have never stopped caring. Jane stepped in to calm the rising tension. This meeting is about us, about what we can do together. We're all feeling the strain of what has happened. Change takes courage, and we're willing to take that first step. The space crackled with a mix of emotions. Hope wrestled against doubt. Faces turned towards each other, the whispers rising again. What if they made this happen? The mayor studied the crowd intently, perhaps searching for a flicker of weakness. You understand this isn't just about fun and games. It's about facing real issues: poverty, neglect, division. This type of fundraiser can't do it alone. Jane felt the world tilt, the weight of reality pressing down. Were they chasing a pipe dream? She glanced at Eric, still unwavering, and then at the audience. She could see the flickers of doubt in some eyes, but others sparked with determination, catching their breath and buzzing with ideas. What if we bring more than just a fun run? Jane proposed, her heart pounding louder than her fear. What if we create a festival, a place where we can showcase local talents, food, stories, everything that makes us who we are? Eric's face lit up with the idea. That would engage the entire community. Teams could compete, small businesses could thrive, and it wouldn't just be a one-time effort. We could establish connections that last. A murmur of excitement flared, with voices rising in clusters of enthusiasm. Faces brightened, plans breathlessly volleying back and forth. Still, the mayor stood there, arms crossed, exuding uncertainty. A storm was brewing, but Jane felt a tide building around her. Something alive and powerful. Let us say we wanted to take that leap, the mayor finally said, his voice cautious but measured. What's the first step? Because if you're serious about this, then it's time to lay it all bare. You'll need backup, resources, commitment. In that moment, a heavy silence flooded the room as everyone shifted their attention to Jane. Her heart raced. The truth hung thick in the air. If she was going to lead again, she'd have to confront the fear held tightly inside her. Taking a deep breath, She looked around at the faces of those who believed in what could be. Then let us start tonight. We'll form a committee. We'll gather. We'll share our resources, our stories before she could finish. The door creaked open again, a familiar face appearing in the doorway. Sorry I'm late, someone shouted, excitement lacing their voice. It was Mike, another childhood friend, enthusiasm bursting at the seams. Jane's heart sank for a moment. Was this distraction a sign? Or could it actually build something greater? The warmth of hope flickered between them again, illuminating the path ahead. As they gathered around, Jane clung to the fleeting thought that maybe, just maybe, their unity could shatter the walls the mayor sought to uphold. But amid the warmth of anticipation, that old fear whispered back. Was she ready to take on this battle standing tall, knowing the stakes? The questions hung heavy, and for the first time in a long while, Jane felt the struggle to rise from silence toward hope swirl around her. What would it take to truly unite their fractured little world? Mike's entrance shifted the atmosphere in the room, sparking a fresh current that rippled through the gathered faces. As he ambled in, breathless and brimming with energy, Jane caught a glimpse of her younger self, ambitious and hopeful, fueled by the laughter and dreams that had echoed across the playgrounds they used to roam. Honestly, what's happening? Mike beamed, his eyes darting between Jane and Eric. I felt the excitement from a mile away. Are we finally taking a stand? Jane took a breath, her heart fluttering. Yes, we want to create a festival, something that brings everyone together. It's bigger than just a fun run, she explained, feeling the warmth of the idea growing stronger against the chill the mayor had cast. Mike's eyes sparkled. That sounds amazing. Imagine the food stands, local bands. This could really show what our community has to offer. He spread his arms wide, as if trying to wrap the whole town in his embrace. Encouraged by this burst of enthusiasm, more voices started chiming in. We could have a talent show, suggested Sarah, a local teacher who always had a knack for spotting talent. Our kids could perform, and it would get families involved. And why not include a farmer's market? Charlie added, his voice thick with excitement. We need to support our local vendors and artisans. Let us highlight what they bring to the table. The mayor's expression remained steely, but Jane sensed a crack in his armor. The room brimmed with possibilities, an undercurrent of energy that couldn't be ignored. Each idea spun around like live wires, and for the first time, she could feel the collective heartbeat of the community. Okay, I'm on board, the mayor finally announced, though doubt lingered in his voice. But what you're proposing requires real dedication. If this festival is going to truly make a difference, you need to prove you have the commitment to see it through. His words hung in the air like a challenge, stirring a mix of anxiety and determination within Jane. A chill crawled up her spine as she imagined the weight of the next steps resting on her shoulders. But this time she didn't want to shrink back. Then let us get to work, she declared, her voice resolute. Let us split into teams. We need to tackle finances, permits, outreach, everything. We can start small, but we have to show that we're serious. The energy was palpable as people mobilized, excitement crackling in the air. Teams began forming around the tables, fueled by the hope that was washing over them. Jane could see familiar faces from her childhood, people who had once cheered her on and who now looked to her for leadership. But amid the whirlwind of plans, Jane couldn't shake the whispers of self-doubt. What if they couldn't pull this off? What if the past straw broke this finally emerging camel's back? As Elizabeth, a devoted volunteer, suggested a timeline, Jane's heart sank at reminders of their previous endeavors that had faltered. Are we really going to be able to keep this momentum? She thought, a thread of worry weaving through her determination. But then she recalled the glimmers of hope she had felt earlier, those bright eyes around her, the shared laughter and newfound enthusiasm. They had come back together after so much grief. Perhaps they could rise again. As the night pushed on with brainstorming, laughter, and a hint of something bright on the horizon, Jane's resolve strengthened. She remembered the reason why she was fighting. It was for them, for the community she loved. Then suddenly, Mike spun around and pointed dramatically towards Jane. And don't forget, We'll need someone brave enough to face the mayor when we pitch this idea. Who do you think that could be? Laughter erupted, highlighting that small but significant crack in the mayor's demeanor. The air felt lighter, and Jane grinned, even as her heart raced. What if this moment led somewhere truly special, something more than just a festival? But deep down, she knew that every step forward would require facing the trepidation swirling within her. Would she have the courage to keep leading them, even as shadows of doubt loomed? As she looked around, filled with hope and fear alike, a determined thought crystallized. This was just the beginning, and she wouldn't turn back now. And yet, as the meeting started shaping into plans, the door swung open one more time. Another figure stepped in, and with them, an unexpected revelation that would shake everything they thought they knew. The air thickened again with anticipation as whispers began to weave through the room. What surprises were about to unfold? As the door creaked open, silence fell like a curtain over the gathering. All eyes turned towards the newcomer, a tall figure wrapped in a worn denim jacket, the edges fraying from years of use. The husky silhouette belonged to Clara, a cherished neighbor who hadn't been seen in ages. Jane felt her heart skip. Clara's presence stirred memories of summer barbecues and laughter that echoed long into the evening. But that warmth faded as Jane noted the somber look on her face. Something was off. Clara, Jane ventured, her voice barely above a whisper. What brings you here? Clara stepped forward, the tremble in her hands betraying her usual strength. I heard about the festival, she began, her eyes scanning the room, resting momentarily on the mayor. And I had to come. She took a deep breath. There's something you all need to know. It's about the land by the river where you plan to host it. The excitement that had filled the room minutes earlier twisted into a knot of anxiety in Jane's stomach. Clara had always been fiercely protective of their town's history and ecology. Jane glanced at Mike, whose expression mirrored her concern. Is there something wrong with it? Mike asked, taking a small step closer to Clara, urging her to continue. Clara hesitated. Depends on how you look at it. For years, it's been a cherished space for many families, but it's also home to some endangered species. The mayor's office has been advised that any changes there could face severe scrutiny. A murmur flared up in the crowd, questions bouncing like pinballs. Jane felt herself inching backwards in her mind, the weight of their plans suddenly feeling heavy and impossible. Had they jumped in without considering the stakes? Are you saying we can't do anything with the land at all? Jane pressed, trying to catch her breath. This festival could bring everyone together, revitalize our community. Clara's gaze softened but remained firm. Sometimes bringing a community together means protecting what's already there. I wouldn't want to discourage you, but it's important we approach this with care. We can celebrate without harming the land. The room dimmed with uncertainty. The vibrant energy from moments before now felt like a distant memory, swallowed by the realities Clara had just laid before them. Were they really ready to face not just the mayor, but also a community divided over progress versus preservation? Jane felt cold sweat prickling at her temples. She glanced toward the mayor, whose expression had grown even more inscrutable. What does that mean for our plans? She whispered, idly running her fingers along the edge of the table as if desperate for grounding. Let us take a step back. The mayor finally spoke, voice steady but lacking warmth. Before we proceed, we need to analyze the environmental impact and gather perspectives from the community. I won't let this town become a victim of reckless decisions. The tension hung in the air, a heavy weight that sunk into Jane's heart. She wanted to scream, to throw a tantrum like she used to as a child, an outburst that wouldn't go anywhere. The cornerstones of her dreams felt like they were crumbling. Was it possible to balance the festival's vibrant spirit with the need to protect their cherished land? Jane realized they'd have to tread carefully but wondered if they could still find creative ways to honor both ambitions. The room fell into a hushed discussion, whispers intertwining with nervous laughter, nudging Jane's insecurities deeper. Was she capable of navigating these newfound complexities? She could feel the eyes of her friends burning into her, waiting for her to make the next move. Taking a stealing breath, she cleared her throat. Then let us gather all the information we can. We still want to create something special, but we need to respect our land too. It's time to listen. A flicker of determination sparked in her, but deep down, the path ahead seemed murky. As the room resumed discussion, Jane's thoughts swirled. She could almost feel the weight of Clara's words pressing against her chest. Each smile exchanged now felt like a fragile thread, teetering. Would they find the balance they were searching for? And as the meeting pressed forward into uncertainty, Jane couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the last of the challenges they'd face, but a deeper question crept in with the shadows. Could they truly reclaim their unity in the face of this emerging doubt? The room gradually quieted as the discussions turned into a swirl of emotions and ideas. Jane couldn't shake off Clara's words. They echoed in her mind, ricocheting against her hopes for the festival. Each concern raised felt like a dagger, threatening to pierce through the carefully built dreams she held close. Shouldn't we speak to Clara more about this? Mike murmured, breaking the paralysis. If anyone knows the land, it's her. Nods of agreement rippled through the few Johnny-come-latelys who had gathered, their earlier excitement now tempered by doubt. We can arrange a town hall meeting, but we need to get people to care, Jane replied, her voice shaking slightly. If they see the value in preserving the land, they might be more willing to adapt our plans. Right? But how do we even start? One of the older residents chimed in. People have their hearts set on this festival. No one wants to let go of what seems like hope. Jane could feel the weight of the audience's gaze. They were looking to her for a solution. A surge of nerves washed over her, but somewhere deep inside, a flicker of resolve ignited. We focus on community. We plan events that educate and inspire, she said, her passion building. Have talks about the land, nature walks, maybe even a photo contest showcasing the wildlife there. We show how beautiful and vital this place is. A soft murmur of excitement rippled through the room. The idea of blending the festival with preservation began to take shape, but doubt still lingered. What if people don't care, Jane? Clara's soothing voice broke through, drawing everyone back to the present. What if they think it's less important than a party? A lot of folks are busy surviving day to day. It's our job to change that perception, Jane said, feeling a newfound courage. Let us create a narrative. We dive into why this land matters through storytelling. We highlight the connection families have to it. What if we partnered with schools? Mike piped up. We could get kids involved. They can share stories of eras gone by, how they spent summers there. Could turn into something bigger than we imagined. It was like a domino effect. One suggestion sparked another: a community garden to maintain the land. A festival committee that integrated conservation efforts. Local artists creating pieces inspired by their surroundings. Unity isn't just about throwing a party. It's about digging roots deeper, Jane emphasized, feeling her pulse quicken with enthusiasm. We take what makes our town special and let that guide us. The murmurs grew louder, hands began to rise with proposals, and the energy shifted once more. Laughter mingled with fervent nodding. It was as if the room had rediscovered its spirit, like a light breaking through dark clouds. Yet, as Jane shared smiles with friends, a quiet nagging pulled at her insides. How would they ensure everyone felt included? What if their push for preservation placed them against some in the community who only wanted to celebrate without hesitance? Okay, let us get to work, the mayor finally exclaimed, his voice resolute but gentle. We'll set up the town hall, send out notices, and create a buzz. But remember, Jane, it will be a journey. You must prepare for the challenges ahead. Her heart raced with anticipation. They were on the brink of something new, and that spark could burn bright. Yet, reservations crept back. Could they mend the divisions that might arise from their dual focus? As the meeting adjourned, Jane found herself lingering, eyes catching Clara's. "Thank you for coming," she said softly, feeling the gravity of their conversation. Clara squeezed her hand. "You've got the heart, Jane. Just remember, the truth will come out in every story told." Jane left, determined but fearful. The excitement of the festival mingled with the weight of responsibility. Would this effort truly unite them? As her footsteps echoed in the quiet hallway, one question lingered. The possibilities felt endless. But could their small town rise to truly honor both celebration and preservation? The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm glow over the town as Jane stepped outside. The air was filled with a sense of urgency and hope. People milled about, laughter twinkling in the distance as children chased fireflies. Yet, the festival buzz now felt intertwined with tension. Could they really pull off something that balanced celebration with conservation? As she walked home, Jane's mind raced through ideas. Events needed to not just be gatherings. They had to resonate, to touch hearts and minds. She envisioned community groups coming together for workshops, crafting stories of their families passed down through generations. Maybe it would spark that spark Clara spoke of, igniting the importance of land in a new way. As she approached her house, she noticed the front porch light flickering an erratic heartbeat against the deepening twilight. Her mother, weary yet dedicated, was waiting. "You look deep in thought," her mom said with a smile, the wrinkles around her eyes crinkling, showing genuine curiosity. Jane sighed, letting the tension melt away as she sank onto the porch swing. "Just thinking about how to get people engaged in this festival and in saving our land." Her mother sat beside her, the swing creaking softly. "This festival is more than just a party. Isn't it? You want it to mean something." "Exactly," Jane replied, a determined fire igniting in her chest again. "And I keep worrying that some won't care enough. How do I make them see?" "Start with what matters to them," her mother said softly, looking into Jane's eyes with steady wisdom. "Ask them what the land means to them also." Jane nodded, absorbing her mother's words. They continued to swing together, the gentle rhythm slowing her thoughts. The next day, she called a meeting with friends at the local diner, eager to share her renewed ideas. The small, cozy space buzzed with business. As her friends trickled in, she could feel the familiar comfort of camaraderie. They discussed potential activities. For every worry they voiced, Jane offered a solution. "Let us plan a storytelling night," she proposed, excitement bubbling. "Everyone can share their love for the land. Stories that connect generations. Those memories are our town's history." Faces lit up around the table. "But what if people feel shy?" Mike chimed in, a hint of concern in his voice. "Let us make it appealing. Music, food, a cozy atmosphere," Jane said, the energy in her pulse beating in rhythm to her thoughts. "We'll create a safe space." Another friend suggested an art installation, a wall dedicated to children's drawings inspired by nature, which would be showcased during the festival. This would draw in families and give children a voice. Ideas flowed like honey as they brainstormed. Yet amid the excitement, Jane's worries lingered in the back of her mind like a persistent cloud. The door swung open to reveal Clara, her presence commanding instant attention. "I was wondering if I could help out as well," she said, walking toward the table. Jane felt her heart soar. "We would love that. Your insights on the land will guide us." Clara smiled, a blend of pride and determination in her demeanor. "I see potential in blending your plans with education. It's not just about preserving the land, it's about sharing its stories." As they talked, Jane felt hope swelling in her chest. But another worry snuck in. Would everyone truly come together, or would resistance harden in the shadows? With plans taking shape and excitement sparking throughout, Jane left the diner energized but wary. They had momentum, but the road was uncertain. Later that evening, as she watched the sun melt away, a thought struck her. Could they get the hardest-hearted folks in town to see the value in this mission? Could they bridge the gap between celebration and preservation? There was still so much to do, and each step felt like a tightrope walk between passion and pragmatism. With her mind racing, she whispered into the gathering night, "What if we fail?" But in that same breath, she resolved to push forward. A deep breath filled her lungs. The festival could change lives, but at what cost? The challenge lay ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. Would she find the strength to unite her town or watch her aspirations crumble? The next morning, Jane woke with the sun streaming through her window. The golden light felt like a gentle nudge to rise and tackle the day ahead. She could hear the sounds of birds chirping, as if the world was urging her to step outside and embrace the hope that today could hold. After a quick breakfast, she grabbed her notebook, a reliable companion filled with scribbles and dreams for the festival. Each idea felt like a thread, waiting to be woven into a tapestry of community spirit. She decided to walk to the park, hoping the greenery that surrounded her would provide the inspiration she sought. As she wandered, Jane passed familiar houses and saw neighbors tending to their yards. Some waved, others offered quick smiles. But her heart raced when she spotted Clara pulling weeds in her garden. "Hey, Clara," she called, approaching with a grin. "Hi there. Just trying to keep things looking decent," Clara replied, wiping her brow. "What about you? I've been thinking we should go door to door and invite everyone to help plan the festival. Not just to attend, but truly contribute, share their stories, their ideas." Clara's expression brightened, a spark igniting in her eyes. "That's a brilliant idea. If people feel like they're part of it, they'll be more likely to connect." She felt a sudden rush of excitement. "Exactly. Let us create a team. We can bring cookies, have fun conversations. Make it less formal, more like a gathering of friends." They spent the next hour mapping out who they would visit. Jane felt a rising hope, like a flame catching wind, ready to ignite something beautiful. As afternoon rolled in, they gathered cookies from Clara's kitchen and set off. The first house belonged to the Thompsons, an older couple who had witnessed the town's evolution through decades. Jane knocked, her heart pounding with the thrill of new possibilities. "Jane, how wonderful to see you," Mrs. Thompson exclaimed as she opened the door, her silver hair shining in the sunlight. "Hi, Mrs. Thompson. We're planning a festival that's all about our land, and we'd love for you to be part of it. Could we come in and hear your stories?" Her eyes lit up. "Oh, I have plenty of those. Come in, come in." The living room was cozy, filled with relics from years of family gatherings and celebrations. As they sat, Mrs. Thompson began to share tales of her childhood, stories of how she and her friends played under the big oak tree, how they watched it grow as they did. Jane and Clara absorbed every word, thrilled to discover the emotional depth of the moments that had shaped their town's heart. It became clear. This wasn't just about preserving land. It was about honoring every story that had taken place on it. As they continued their rounds, each door opened to a new world of memories and connections. Jane felt the weight of her worries lifting, replaced by the realization that the festival wasn't just her dream. It was theirs too, held together by woven stories and shared love for their home. By the time they returned to Clara's, the sun was setting. Their bags were filled with tales, laughter, and promises of participation. But beneath the excitement, a sense of urgency propelled Jane's thoughts. "Do you think everyone will feel the same way?" she asked Clara as they shared a moment of quiet reflection. Clara paused, considering. "Change takes time, Jane. It may be slow, but every story we hear is a seed. With care, it will grow." Fueled by that perspective, Jane felt a renewed sense of purpose. Tomorrow, she would reach out to more families, not just for festival ideas but to build bridges of trust. But as she lay in bed that night, a lingering fear crept in. What if there were those who didn't want to change? Would their stories inspire unity, or would they just be noise in the background? Tomorrow they'd knock on more doors. And still, the question loomed heavy in her mind. Could they truly unite a town caught between past and future? As dawn broke and painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, Jane stood at her window, heart racing with the day ahead. She felt a renewed sense of determination, burnished by last night's encounters. Their town was alive with stories, and those stories were threads she could weave together into something vibrant, a festival that honored both celebration and preservation of her hometown. After breakfast, she gathered her notebook filled with ideas and set out. Today they'd visit more doors and hopefully more hearts. Jane met Clara at the park, where the morning sun spilled through the trees, casting dappled light across the grass. "Are you ready?" Clara asked, her eyes glimmering with enthusiasm. "As ready as I'll ever be. Let us do this," Jane replied, leading the way toward the neighborhood. Their first stop was across the street, the home of the Smiths, who'd been part of the town for generations. Knocking on the door felt like stepping onto sacred ground. When Mrs. Smith opened it, the warmth of her smile enveloped them. "Oh my Jane, Clara, what brings you here? We're planning the festival, Mrs. Smith, and we'd love for you to help us share your stories of the land," Jane said, her voice filled with hope. "Stories? You have no idea how many I have. Come in, dear," she welcomed them in. Inside, Mrs. Smith shared tales of the community center, the barbecues before their town-esque football games, the laughter of kids echoing as they played tag in the grassy fields behind. Jane listened, captivated, as those memories danced lively through the room. Each home they visited was a treasure trove of memories. The Deans recalled how their family used to camp in the park's shadows, while the Lopez family spoke of gatherings filled with music and laughter, uniting people of different backgrounds. Jane began to feel something shift in the air, an exhilarating wave of connection that surged with every story shared. As they wrapped up the day, Jane looked at Clara. "Do you feel that? People are alive with these stories. This is the heart of our festival." Clara nodded, her expression one of understanding. "This is about more than land. It's about identity, community, belonging. We can bring people together not just to celebrate, but to learn from one another." Jane felt a spark igniting within her. This festival was blossoming into a movement of vibrant convergence of history, community, and love. The next evening, they organized a community meeting at the diner. When the sun set, Jane stood under the glow of the hanging lights, her heart pounding as she faced a crowd that swelled in numbers, drawn by the power of shared memories. "Thank you all for joining us tonight," Jane started, feeling the energy rise. "We've spent time listening to so many of you, gathering stories that make our town special, stories that show our roots run deep." She felt the eyes of the crowd on her, hopeful but cautious, and continued, "This festival isn't just about fun. It's about honoring who we are and where we've come from. We want to preserve the land and celebrate our stories as one community." Whispers rippled through the diner, and Jane sensed a pivotal moment forming. "We're proposing not merely a day of festivities, but a celebration of our connections. We all want our children to remember this place, the laughter, the bonds, the unity." As she spoke about the festival, outlining their plans and ideas, hands began to rise across tables, eager to participate. Ideas flowed: market stalls from local artisans, performances from budding artists, and storytelling sessions. Hope shimmered in the room, a shared pulse of determination lighting the way. But as Jane glanced toward the back, she spotted the mayor's watchful gaze, a shadow of skepticism that danced in his demeanor. "And what about the land, Jane? Who will ensure it is protected amidst all the celebration?" His voice was steady but challenging. Before she could respond, Clara stepped forward, gathering her strength. "We won't just celebrate the land, Mayor. We will educate and promote awareness about its importance. We will honor its natural beauty." Her words struck like lightning, illuminating hearts and minds. One voice after another chimed in, rallying behind Clara's conviction. Jane's heart swelled. This was the unity she had yearned for. As the night wore on, ideas solidified into a plan, and the room filled with excitement, a sense of shared destiny looming closer. However, as they began to outline roles and responsibilities, a burning reality settled over Jane. Could they truly keep the spirit alive amid the inevitable challenges that lay ahead? After the meeting, Jane felt a weight pressing on her shoulders. Walking home, she caught the flicker of light peeking through her window, reflecting her growing anxiety. Heart racing, she asked herself again, would they truly unite? Could they rise above the past? Sleep evaded her as worries twirled in her mind. But the following day glimmered with possibilities. Determined, she reached out to neighbors, coordinated committees, set dates, and documented stories. Weeks passed in bursts of creativity, laughter, and the occasional conflict. But with each challenge, Jane took a step forward, her heart beating for the unity she felt stirring beneath the surface. Finally, the day of the festival dawned, bringing with it a vibrance and a palpable energy that buzzed through the air. Jane arrived at the park, her eyes sparkling as she greeted neighbors setting up booths, children darting about with joy, and music flowing through the atmosphere. As the event unfolded, it was a joyful celebration, stories pooled together, laughter intermingling, just as they had dreamed. Jane wandered, soaking in the resplendent sights of a community rediscovering its spirit, its roots entwining stronger with every shared moment. Amid laughter and music, her eyes met her father's, who stood at the edge of the festivities, looking a little lost. A rush of emotions surged through her. Today was the day for new beginnings. Jane stepped toward him. "Want to help me set up?" she asked, her voice steady and inviting. His face lit up with a hesitant smile. "I'd love to." Together, they began piecing in a small corner dedicated to sharing memories, old photos strewn across tables, stories from families decorating the walls. As dusk fell, Jane stood on the stage, watching the sun dip below the horizon. "Thank you for being here. Today, we've woven our stories into a richer tapestry," she said into the microphone, her voice ringing with pride. "Together, we've celebrated not just our land, but the heart of our community. We've shown that we can create something beautiful, that our history matters, and so do our futures." Cheers erupted from the crowd, echoing like a wave. Smiling broadly, Jane felt a warmth envelop her, a realization that every struggle had been worth it. The festival would be remembered not just for its festivities, but as a pivotal moment in forging new connections, bridges built over shared hope. As people danced beneath the stars, Jane looked around at the faces surrounding her, her children beaming, her father beside her, her community, once fractured, now alive with resilience and spirit. In that moment, as laughter danced with the music, she understood clearly. Against every storm they faced, they would rise, united, stronger, and ready to embrace whatever came next. Life continued to unfurl with its challenges, but they had woven themselves into a new destiny, a vibrant harmony forged in the heart of a little town, ready to take on the world. Now, as the sweetness of the evening lingered in the air, she whispered a prayer of gratitude, her heart steady and full, knowing this was just the beginning. Before you go, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and transform lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every click counts in bringing more heartwarming stories to light. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. We love hearing your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans know the importance of keeping our stories alive.